Audiobook. Free yourself from excess thoughts. Silence your mind. Prologue. The book, Free Yourself from Excess Thoughts. Silence Your Mind, emerges as a beacon of clarity in the midst of this mental storm. With wisdom and clarity, it unravels the roots of overthinking, its consequences, and, most importantly, offers practical tools to shed this unnecessary burden. Through everyday stories, profound reflections, and effective techniques, this work guides the listener on a journey of self-discovery, inviting them to observe their thoughts without being tied to them, break the cycles of mental paralysis, and regain control of their own mind. Section 1. Unraveling the Secrets of Overthinking. Do you know what one of the most silent thieves of our peace of mind is? Overthinking. It's that invisible storm that sneaks into our minds without permission, whispering doubts and fueling fears. It keeps us trapped in a constant cycle of insecurities, as if we were circling a maze with no way out. We relive past conversations over and over again, imagine the worst possible outcomes, and second-guess every decision, as if our emotional survival depended on it. I've felt it many times. It's like carrying a suitcase full of thoughts that you don't know how to put down. And the most disturbing thing is that we often don't realize we're doing it. We think we're being rational, that we're analyzing carefully, but in reality, we're paralyzed. Yes, overthinking is a trap, a mental trap we fall into without realizing it. Instead of moving forward, we remain on hold, mulling over the same ideas until we wear them down. Why do we do this? What leads us to this loop? There are many reasons, but one of the most common is the fear of making mistakes. We've been taught that making mistakes is a sign of weakness, something to be avoided at all costs. So, we think that if we analyze every possibility down to the last detail, we can avoid failure. But that's not the case. The more we think about it, the harder it becomes to choose. And that indecision is exhausting. Another powerful reason, the desire for control. We long for everything to happen as planned, with no room for error. But life, restless, unpredictable, doesn't live up to our expectations. And to compensate for that uncertainty, we try to foresee every possible outcome. We project ourselves into the future, imagining scenarios that don't yet exist, battling ghosts that live only in our minds. The consequence? Stress, anxiety, days when your body is tired for no apparent reason, and nights when sleep becomes an impossible battle. Has it happened to you? It has to me. Sleepless nights because of something that happened a week ago, a conversation I can't stop replaying. That, precisely, is analysis paralysis. You think so hard about what the best decision is that you end up making none. You delude yourself into believing that if you keep thinking a little longer, the perfect solution will appear. But that perfection doesn't exist. And while you're searching for it, you lose sight of the present. So how do you know if you're overthinking? There are clear signs. Replaying mental conversations, imagining 1,000 versions of what could go wrong, second-guessing yourself even after making a choice, needing others to validate your decisions, feeling constantly on edge. If you identify with this, you're not alone. We've all been there. The key is recognizing the moment it happens, and what to do when you notice it. The first step is to observe your thoughts. Stop and ask yourself, is this thinking helping me or just wearing me down? Is it based on facts or assumptions? Is it something I really need to address now? Only these questions can help you regain control. If the thoughts still persist, write them down. Putting them on paper is like getting them out of your mind and looking at them from a different perspective. Another option, breathe. Don't underestimate the power of a deep breath. Inhale, exhale, and return to the present. Just that. You also have to learn to let go. It's not easy, I know, but holding on to what you can't change only prolongs the discomfort. Ask yourself, can I do something about it now? If the answer is no, let it go. Your energy is worth too much to waste on impossible battles. To summarize, stopping overthinking requires identifying repetitive thoughts, questioning them, writing them down to see them clearly, grounding yourself in the present, and accepting what's beyond your control. It's not a magic bullet, but it is a practice that, over time, takes the power out of that mental storm. I know it may seem challenging, and it is, But remember this, life is meant to be lived, not overanalyzed. And when you feel yourself falling into that spiral of thoughts, take a deep breath and remember, not everything has to be solved in your head. Now, there's something deeper that fuels overthinking, a lack of awareness. Often, we don't even know we're stuck. We're on autopilot, reacting without even realizing it. Awareness is like turning on a flashlight in the dark. Suddenly, you see what was always there. And in doing so, you regain the power to decide how to respond. But how to be more aware? Start by observing your thoughts without judging them. Imagine them like leaves floating in a river. Don't try to stop them or understand each one. Just watch them pass by. I know it sounds simple, but it isn't. When your mind is in turmoil, it's like being in the middle of a storm. However, the key isn't to avoid the storm, but to avoid getting caught up in it. When you notice you're stuck, take a break. Tell yourself, I'm thinking about this too much, and it's not helping me. That simple thing can break the cycle. A very useful tool is mindfulness. It's about being fully present in what you're doing, whether it's breathing, walking, or eating. No judgment, no trips to the past or the future. Just now. Is your mind wandering? Return to your breath. Are you getting distracted? Return to what you're doing. Don't beat yourself up. Just come back again and again. That's the practice. You can also write. It doesn't have to be perfect or elaborate. Just write what you feel, what bothers you, what you're grateful for. By doing so, you give a name to what's happening inside you. And that, in a way, is liberating. What if your thoughts are tinged with fear or anxiety? Awareness helps you there too. When you recognize an emotion, you can begin to separate yourself from it. You can say, I am feeling fear instead of I am the fear. That changes everything. You are no longer the emotion. You are just experiencing it. Emotions are like waves. They come and go. The trick isn't stopping them, but learning to ride them. If your thoughts return, don't get frustrated. It's normal. Mindfulness isn't a destination. It's a constant practice. Every time you choose not to be drawn into a thought, you're winning. And all of this can be summed up in one word: acceptance. Acceptance isn't giving up. It's saying, this is what it is now. And that's okay. Accepting what you feel gives you peace. Because letting go of fighting what you can't change is, in itself, a form of liberation. So, if you want to start cultivating awareness, remember these steps. Observe your thoughts without judging. Practice mindfulness. Breathe. Come back to the present. Write what you feel and think. Accept your emotions without trying to suppress them. Breathe when your mind overflows. It doesn't sound so complicated, right? The most important thing is to do it every day. The more you practice it, the easier it will be to recognize the patterns that trap you. And, little by little, you'll feel how overthinking loses its power, until it becomes just a distant echo in your calm mind. Section 2. Break free from the vicious circle by taking the first step. In the previous chapter, we explored how awareness can become a powerful tool for escaping the labyrinth of overthinking. Now it's time to take it a step further. What do we do once we've become aware of what's going on in our minds? The natural response seems to be to take action, right? And it is. Action is the key that unlocks the door to transformation. Awareness, on its own, is only the first step. Real change begins when we decide to move, even if we don't have all the answers or don't feel entirely ready. Facing overthinking doesn't mean having everything under control. On the contrary, it's about daring to take the first step, even when the path isn't entirely clear. There's no perfect action or magic formula. The important thing is to start small, with any gesture that propels us forward. Because the simple act of doing something, no matter how small it may seem, already represents a victory over mental paralysis. And yes, we may make mistakes. But making mistakes isn't the end of the world. On the contrary, every mistake carries with it a valuable lesson. Acting, even imperfectly, offers us the opportunity to learn, adapt, and grow. So how do we stop being so afraid of making mistakes? One effective strategy is to transform our perspective on failure. Instead of seeing it as a painful fall, we can view it as a learning opportunity. Every attempt, even those that don't turn out as we expected, brings us closer to a better version of ourselves. The real obstacle is the endless wait for perfection. This desire to do everything flawlessly fuels the cycle of overthinking. We want to make sure nothing goes wrong, but this constant search for the ideal solution holds us back. Perfection, in reality, is just an illusion that consumes our time and energy. Many of us get stuck in this pattern. We search for the best way to act and, in the process, never act. But there is hope. The more we give ourselves permission to act without everything being perfect, the easier it becomes to break this vicious cycle. We can view each step as an experiment. If it doesn't work, we learn. And that also helps us manage anxiety in the face of uncertainty. Action, no matter how small, allows us to move forward. While thoughts can keep us spinning in the same place, taking action breaks that inertia. We realize that uncertainty isn't so terrifying when we stop thinking about it and start experiencing it. What if we don't know where to start? It's best to start with the simplest. You don't need to solve the entire problem right away. If you're mulling over a project, make a to-do list, write an email, make a call. Any concrete action will be a step forward. That reduces the feeling of overwhelm. Even when we feel like we're going backward, every little bit of progress counts. By taking action, our mind focuses on the task at hand, distancing us from the repetitive thoughts that drain us. This is how you break the cycle, with determination, with action. And if you feel like you have a lot on your mind, try setting a time limit for yourself to decide. Tell yourself, I'm going to think about this for 10 minutes, and then make a decision. This kind of approach prevents you from falling into a spiral of endless indecision. It also reduces the fear of making mistakes because you allow yourself to decide without demanding perfection. Many of us have been held back by the fear of failure. Changing that mindset begins with recognizing that failure isn't the end of the journey, but an essential part of it. We all stumble sometimes. What matters isn't the mistake, but how we react to it. If we begin to view each stumble as a lesson, we'll begin to act with greater confidence. Instead of saying, I don't want to fail, try saying, I want to learn and improve. That small difference completely changes our attitude toward challenges. Acting without having everything figured out is possible, even advisable. Sometimes we think we need a clear and complete vision before taking action, but in reality, clarity comes as we move forward. Action brings experience, and it is that experience that gives us understanding. We've spent so much time trying to anticipate the future that we forget that living it is what truly illuminates our path. Clarity comes not from overanalysis, but from direct experience. In short, if you want to break the cycle of overthinking, start by taking action. Take a step, even a small one. You don't need to have all the answers. Don't strive for perfection. Imperfect action also moves you. Set a time limit for your decision and don't let indecision consume you. Change your view of failure. See it as an opportunity, not an end. Keep going even if everything isn't clear yet. Because clarity, remember, comes through walking. This approach can transform your way of thinking. Action is the bridge that will take you from a cluttered mind to a more serene and focused life. You just need to start. Now that we understand the importance of taking action, it's time to address a fundamental issue for freeing our minds from stress. Learning to let go of what we can't control. Letting go of what's beyond our control may sound challenging, especially if we're used to trying to control everything. But the reality is that much of what we try to manage is completely beyond our control. And this constant effort to control the uncontrollable only generates anxiety and frustration. We can't make decisions for others, change the past, or control many aspects of the future. Insisting on doing so only wears down our emotions. So where do we start? The first step is to differentiate between what's within our control and what's not. It's common to waste energy worrying about things that are beyond our control. A useful exercise is to take a situation that causes you stress, write down everything that happens, and divide it into two columns: what you can control and what you can't. For example, if a work project worries you, you can control your attitude, your preparation, and the way you communicate. But you can't control how others react or the final results. This kind of clarity allows us to direct our energy more effectively. Our mind, in its attempt to protect us, clings to the uncontrollable, believing that thinking about it will solve it. However, all it achieves is exhausting us. Accepting that there are things beyond our control can be liberating, even if it can also be unsettling at first. We face uncertainty, and that can make us feel vulnerable. But in that acceptance lies a profound form of freedom. When we stop resisting the inevitable, we can live more lightly. Acceptance isn't giving up. It's recognizing the limits of our power so we can focus on what we can do. Instead of fighting what's beyond our reach, we can strengthen what is within our control, our attitude, our decisions, our actions. A powerful way to practice this acceptance is through visualization. Imagine you're carrying a backpack full of stones. Each stone symbolizes a worry you can't control. Now, imagine you decide to let go of that backpack and continue on your journey without it. Don't you feel lighter? Every time you catch yourself worrying about something beyond your reach, visualize dropping a rock. Remember, you don't have to carry everything. Make a conscious effort to release that tension. When we manage to let go of those unnecessary burdens, we gain space to focus on what's essential, our thoughts, our actions, our well-being. And if you ever feel trapped by past mistakes, remember you're not alone. We all have moments like that. But holding on to what we can no longer change only prolongs our suffering. Freeing yourself from the weight of the past is another way to let go of control and move forward. Section 3. Reinterpreting destructive thoughts into learning. In previous chapters, we've explored the importance of being aware of our thoughts and how to take action to free ourselves from overthinking. However, there's a crucial element to this process: learning to manage the negative thoughts that paralyze us. Have you ever suddenly found your mind flooded with doubts and doubts? It's as if an insistent voice whispered that there's no way out, trapping you in a cycle of constant worry. That's precisely what we'll address today. Reframing negative thoughts, a powerful tool for breaking this vicious cycle and regaining control of your mind. Reframe? I'm not sure I understand that, you might think. Reframing is, in essence, shifting the focus of a negative thought to observe it from a different perspective. It's like adjusting the angle of a camera. A slight movement can transform a dark image into one filled with light. Remember the metaphor of the glass being half full or half empty? Exactly. Sometimes, all we need is that little shift to see things differently. Identifying negative patterns. But how do you recognize a negative thought? They often follow specific patterns. Catastrophic thinking. You imagine the worst-case scenario. If I give this presentation, I'll fail and everyone will judge me. All or nothing. You perceive situations in extremes, without nuances. If it's not perfect, it's a total failure. Overgeneralization. You take an isolated event and turn it into a rule. I didn't get this job, I'll never get it. Mind reading. You assume what others think without evidence. They probably don't like me. Now I get it, you exclaim. I realize I often fall into those patterns. It's completely normal. We all do it at some point. The key is learning to detect them so you can transform them before they take over your mind. Challenging the validity of thoughts. So how do I start changing them, you ask? The first step is to question them. Ask yourself, is this thought really true? Many of our ideas are nothing more than assumptions, not reflections of reality. For example, if you think, I'm going to fail this interview, stop and reflect. Do I have concrete evidence that I will fail? Have I had previous experiences where I did well? By looking for evidence that contradicts the thought, you'll find its power fades. Reframing techniques. An effective strategy is to replace the narrative. Instead of asking yourself, what if I fail? Try, what if this experience helps me grow? Or, instead of, what if I don't get the job? Consider, what valuable learning can I take away? This simple shift turns a limiting thought into one filled with possibilities. Another powerful technique is gratitude. When blackness creeps in, pause and remember what you do have: your abilities, your accomplishments, the people who support you. Gratitude shifts the focus from what's lacking to what's abundant, illuminating corners that once seemed dark. Self-compassion as an ally. But what if those thoughts come from my own self-criticism? You ask. That's where self-compassion comes in. Imagine what you would say to a friend in your situation. Would you criticize them mercilessly? No. You would offer words of encouragement. Do the same for yourself. Treat yourself with the same kindness you would extend to someone you love. Reframing failure. Failure isn't the end of the road. It's part of the journey. Instead of seeing it as a judgment on your worth, consider it a lesson. Every setback brings you closer to the next, wiser, more resilient version of yourself. Reframing relationships. What if your negative thoughts revolve around others? They don't like me. They're judging me. Here, reframing is even more liberating. Remember that others are also dealing with their own internal battles. How many times have you been so caught up in your own worries that you didn't notice the actions of others? They're going through the same thing. Letting go of assuming the worst allows you to relate with less anxiety and more empathy. The present as a gift. Finally, if dissatisfaction taints your present, gratitude becomes your beacon again. Make a list of what you do have right now. The accomplishments, the shared laughter, the small daily miracles. When you focus your light on what exists, the shadow of what's missing dissipates. Conclusion: reframing isn't magic, it's practice. It's choosing, again and again, to see the world through curious and compassionate eyes. Every negative thought is an opportunity to exercise this mental muscle. And over time, you'll discover that the mind that once chained you now sets you free. Section 4. The courage to release what is no longer for you. You might be asking yourself, letting go? Isn't that contradictory? Isn't life about fighting for what we want? It's a very valid question. We often believe that if we're not fighting, we're losing control. But in reality, learning to let go can be one of the most powerful ways to regain control over our minds and our lives. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It's not about giving up, but rather about freeing ourselves from that which no longer contributes to our growth. It's like carrying a backpack full of stones. The heavier you are, the more difficult the path becomes. Releasing one of those stones allows you to move forward with greater lightness and renewed energy. But what exactly is it that we must let go of? The answer varies depending on each person's situation, but there are common burdens that many of us share. These include past mistakes, emotional wounds, decisions that can no longer be undone, and the expectations we place on ourselves and others. There are also negative emotions such as anger, resentment, anxiety, the constant need to control, and even fear of the future, that habit of imagining the worst or worrying about things that haven't happened yet. Let's talk about the past. Often, when we think about letting go, the first thing that comes to mind are our mistakes, those decisions we wish we could change. It's completely natural to feel this way. However, have you noticed that holding on to those memories only keeps you tied to them? The past can't be rewritten, and when we remain anchored to what was, we simply drain our energy. And how do you let go of that past? The first step is to accept it, to understand that it's part of our history and that, even if it contains setbacks, it also holds lessons. We all make mistakes, and that's okay. The key is to learn from them and use them as a driving force to move forward. That sounds like forgiveness, doesn't it? It does. Forgiveness plays a fundamental role in this process. But be careful. Forgiveness doesn't mean justifying what happened, but rather freeing yourself from the emotional burden that prevents you from moving forward. We often think that forgiveness means approving of the harm done, but in reality, it's an act of self-love, letting go of the burden of painful thoughts that you can no longer change. And if we're talking about burdens, expectations deserve special mention. How many times have you felt disappointed because things didn't turn out the way you imagined? Expectations, when rigid, become a constant source of suffering. We imagine how life, people, and even ourselves should be, and when reality doesn't match that ideal, frustration sets in. So how do we free ourselves from these expectations? The first step is to accept that life doesn't always follow the script we write in our minds. Flexibility is the key. It's not about giving up on our dreams, but rather adapting to the natural flow of events. The more we resist what is, the more we stagnate. Instead, if we open ourselves to what is happening, we allow new opportunities to enter our path. Now let's talk about negative emotions. What do we do with anger, resentment, or sadness? These emotions, when repressed or dragged on for a long time, act like hidden stones in our emotional backpack. Letting go doesn't mean ignoring them, but rather allowing ourselves to feel them without judgment and then releasing them. Of course, this isn't always easy. Sometimes we feel trapped in what we feel, especially when someone has hurt us. But the important thing is not to allow those emotions to take control. Acknowledge them, accept them, and when you're ready, release them. One exercise that can help you is to write down everything you feel on paper. Empty your thoughts, and then symbolically destroy that paper. This small ritual can have great healing power. Another source of constant tension is the need to have everything under control. We try to organize, plan, and master every aspect of our lives. But the more we try, the more out of control things seem. Life, at its core, is uncertain. Absolute control is an illusion, and desperately seeking it only generates anxiety. To let go of that need for control, start by asking yourself, is this thing I'm trying to control really in my hands? If the answer is no, surrender it. The only things you can truly control are your thoughts, your decisions, and your reactions. The rest, let it flow. Accepting that not everything depends on you is liberating. And, of course, we can't forget the fear of the future. This fear can rob us of peace because it leads us to imagine scenarios that haven't even happened. We believe that if we care enough, we'll avoid the unwanted. But the truth is, fear doesn't change the future. It only erodes our present. How do you let go of that fear? By living in the now. Breathe. Connect with the present moment. Whenever you feel like you're anticipating the worst, remind yourself that you only have power over what you're experiencing in this moment. The future will come, but you can't control it from anxiety. Ultimately, all of this requires practice. The art of letting go isn't mastered overnight. It's a constant exercise in awareness. Whenever you feel yourself clinging to an emotion, thought, or situation, pause and ask yourself, can I let go of this now? It may be difficult at first, but over time, it becomes a lighter and more fulfilling way of living. A practical tip? Try visualization. Close your eyes and imagine holding a burden in your hands, a worry, a memory, a fear. Visualize letting it go, and feel your body relax. Do this daily, even if it's just for a few minutes. The mind, when trained, learns to let go, and with it, the heart and body. Letting go isn't giving up. It's a powerful way to heal, grow, and walk through life with greater freedom. Section 5. Promote emotional resilience. But what exactly is emotional resilience? It's our ability to adapt and recover from life's challenges, stress, or difficulties. It's not about avoiding difficult emotions, but rather learning to manage them in a healthy way without letting them dominate us. Someone might ask, does this mean I should ignore what I feel and move on as if nothing happened? Absolutely not. Emotional resilience doesn't mean ignoring our emotions or simply moving forward. It's about being able to face difficult moments, process what we feel, and continue with a strengthened mindset. It's, in essence, learning from painful experiences and using them as a driver of personal growth. We can think of emotional resilience as a muscle that needs training. Just as we exercise our bodies to strengthen them, we can also train our minds and emotions. And the good news is that anyone can develop it, regardless of their past experiences. One of the first steps to cultivating resilience is recognizing and accepting what we feel. It's not about repressing our emotions or judging them as good or bad. Emotions are part of our human nature and serve an important function. The key is not to allow them to take complete control of our behavior or thinking. Accepting what we feel frees us. If, for example, we experience sadness, allowing ourselves to feel that emotion without judgment helps us process it more quickly. Rejecting or fighting what we feel only gives it more strength. On the other hand, recognizing that we are going through a difficult time and remembering that, like all emotions, this one too will pass offers us a path to balance. On this path, self-compassion is an essential pillar. Being compassionate with ourselves means treating ourselves kindly when we make mistakes or face failure, just as we would treat a loved one who is suffering. This decreases destructive self-criticism and allows us to navigate difficult emotions more calmly. How do you practice self-compassion? Start by changing your internal dialogue. Instead of telling yourself, "I'm a failure," or "I never do anything right," you can remind yourself, "This is hard, but I'm doing the best I can," or "We all make mistakes, and that's okay." It also involves allowing ourselves to feel, without guilt, whatever arises within us. Another important aspect of resilience is how we interpret challenges. It's not just how we bounce back after an obstacle that matters, but how we perceive that obstacle from the start. Changing our perspective, what's known as cognitive reframing, helps us see challenges not as threats, but as opportunities for growth. For example, losing a job doesn't have to be the end of the road. It can become an opportunity to pursue an opportunity that truly excites us. This practice, although it may seem difficult at first, eventually becomes a new mental habit that strengthens our way of facing life. Gratitude also plays a powerful role in this process. Cultivating gratitude allows us to focus on the positive, even when we're going through difficult times. Instead of focusing on what we lack, we begin to see and value what we do have. Giving thanks for a friendship, a lesson learned, or simply for being alive helps us shift from a mindset of scarcity to one of abundance. Being grateful doesn't mean denying problems, but rather recognizing that even in difficulties, there are reasons to be grateful. This attitude builds a stronger emotional foundation for facing challenges. Of course, in times of intense stress, we can feel overwhelmed by emotions. In these cases, it's helpful to learn emotional self-regulation. A simple and effective technique is deep breathing. Inhale through your nose for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, and exhale slowly through your mouth for 6 seconds. This practice activates the nervous system, which promotes calm and helps us regain balance. And like any training, its effectiveness increases with consistent practice. Taking short breaks throughout the day can also make a big difference. It gives us time to regain energy and mental clarity. Ultimately, mental strength is built day by day through small victories. Every time we face a challenge and don't give up, we become stronger. Failure isn't a sign of weakness, but an opportunity to learn. Resilient people don't see setbacks as final, but rather as part of the process of overcoming adversity. The more times we face adversity with determination and hope, the stronger our inner strength becomes. Section 6. Establish a daily meditation habit. So far, we've explored how to manage our thoughts, manage emotions, and cultivate emotional resilience. Now, we'll delve into one of the most powerful tools for reducing overthinking and improving our mental health: mindfulness. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness isn't limited to meditation, although this is one of its best-known forms. It's much more. It's the practice of being fully present in the moment, without judging or rushing what's happening. It's living in the now, without allowing the mind to wander into the past or worry about the future. What does it mean to be present? It means being aware of your thoughts, emotions, and your surroundings, without letting them dominate or distract you. It means fully immersing yourself in what you're doing, preventing your mind from jumping from one thought to another. But my mind tends to wander constantly. How can I train it to be more present? The first thing is to accept that your mind will wander, and that's normal. The goal of mindfulness isn't to control your thoughts, but to notice when you've wandered and gently return to the present moment. Like any skill, it grows stronger with practice. The importance of mindfulness. Why is it so useful for reducing overthinking? Because overthinking, or rumination, occurs when we get caught up in thoughts from the past or worries about the future. Mindfulness breaks that cycle, teaching you to focus on the present without judging or overanalyzing. So, it's like a break on my thoughts? Exactly. Practicing it allows you to take a mental break. When you stop analyzing every thought, you give your mind space to relax, which not only reduces stress, but also improves your clarity when making decisions. The benefits of a daily mindfulness routine. Incorporating this practice into your life can bring numerous benefits. Stress reduction. It helps you disconnect from anxious thoughts. Greater focus and mental clarity. You train your mind to concentrate better. Better emotional regulation. You learn to observe your emotions without letting them control you. Self-acceptance. You become more compassionate with yourself and less critical. Deeper relationships. By being present, you listen and respond with greater awareness. Everyday happiness. You enjoy the little moments more. It sounds incredible, but how do I start? How to create a mindfulness routine. You don't need hours of meditation. Small daily practices can make a difference. Conscious breathing. Take a few minutes to inhale slowly through your nose, hold it for a moment, and exhale through your mouth. This calms your mind. Observation of the senses. Pay attention to what you see, hear, smell, or touch. For example, taste your food or notice the texture of an object. Mindfulness breaks. Take a moment during the day to ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? What thoughts am I having? Active listening. When talking to someone, focus on their words without preparing your response. How much time should I spend on it at the beginning? Start with short sessions of 5 to 10 minutes. The key is consistency, not duration. Integrating mindfulness into daily life. Do I have to sit in silence all day? No. You can do it in any activity, walking, washing dishes, or even working. What if I get distracted by negative thoughts? It's normal. Imagine your thoughts as clouds passing across the sky. Observe them without clinging to them. The role of meditation. Meditation is a deeper form of mindfulness practice, where you dedicate specific time to training your mind. Start with 5 to 10 minutes a day and gradually increase. Mindfulness and stress management. When you feel stressed, pause, breathe, and return to the present. The more you practice this, the easier it will be to regain calm. Long-term benefits. With constant practice, you will notice greater mental clarity, less anxiety, and more ability to handle challenges, better emotional regulation, greater well-being, and self-acceptance. I'm ready to start. Fantastic. Remember, it's all about practice, not perfection. Enjoy the process and let the benefits come with time. Section 7. Enjoy the here and now. So far, we've reflected deeply on the power of the mind, emotional resilience, and how to manage our emotions and thoughts. But this entire journey culminates in an idea as simple as it is transformative: embracing the present moment. Embracing the present means living in the here and now without getting caught up in worries about the future or regrets about the past. It means letting go of thoughts about what can't be changed or about what hasn't happened yet. Most of the thoughts that overwhelm us originate from being mentally trapped in what was or what could be. When we choose to focus on the present moment, we find something essential: peace, clarity, and authentic well-being. But this doesn't mean we should ignore the past or the future. Rather, it's about recognizing that we have no power over them in this moment. The present is the only time in which we can truly feel, act, and live. Why is the now so important? Because it's the only thing that's real. The past is behind us, and the future has yet to arrive. Both exist only as ideas in our minds. However, it's in the present that we experience our emotions, make decisions, and build our lives. If we're not here, if we live absorbed in what was or what might happen, we're missing out on living. It may sound simple, but our minds often tend to wander, constantly traveling to memories or assumptions. This is one of its most common traps, distancing ourselves from what's happening and sinking into nostalgia or anxiety. Living in the present involves becoming aware of those moments and, gently, bringing our attention back to the here and now. A common trap is getting stuck in the past. Sometimes we blame ourselves for decisions, words, or actions. However, it's important to remember that the past cannot be changed. All we can do is learn from it and apply those lessons to the present. When thoughts about what we did wrong arise, we can tell ourselves internally, "That's not here anymore. I'm okay now." If feelings of guilt or regret arise, remind ourselves, "I did the best I could with what I knew at the time. I'm wiser today for it." Another major source of stress is anxiety about the future. We worry about what might go wrong or how we'll cope with uncertain situations. But the future, by definition, is uncertain. Worrying about it doesn't make it clearer, it only wears us down. How can we manage this anxiety? By accepting that we can't foresee everything, and that's okay. Instead of anticipating the worst, Let's focus on what we can do today. Let's ask ourselves, what concrete action can I take now that will better prepare me for what's to come? This shift in focus reduces anxiety and allows us to act with greater serenity. When anxiety takes hold, a very effective tool is conscious breathing. Take a moment to breathe deeply, focusing only on your inhalation and exhalation. This simple act helps calm the mind and return to the present with greater clarity. I understand the concept of living in the present, but in the midst of daily tasks, it's easy to forget. Therefore, the key is to practice mindfulness in every activity: eating, walking, working, or talking. Everything we do can be an opportunity to be present. For example, when eating, savor each bite. Pay attention to the colors, the textures, the aroma. You are there in that moment. Another simple strategy is to take short mindful breaks throughout the day. Just stop, breathe, and observe your surroundings. Noticing the small details grounds your mind in the present and allows you to appreciate moments that might otherwise go unnoticed. We often believe that if things aren't perfect, we can't enjoy the present. But perfection is an illusion that distances us from reality. Life isn't perfect, nor does it have to be valuable. Embracing the present moment means accepting imperfection as a natural part of living. It's not about resignation, but rather about freeing ourselves from the impulse to have everything be exactly as we imagine it. Only then can we fully enjoy what is truly right. Gratitude is a powerful bridge to the present. By being grateful for what we already have, we stop focusing our attention on what's missing. Practicing gratitude means taking a moment to appreciate what's working in our lives, what brings us joy, what sustains us. You can end each day by remembering 3 things you're grateful for, from a pleasant conversation to the pleasure of your favorite beverage. This practice transforms your perspective and connects you with what's essential. But there are times when we feel trapped in what should be. In those cases, accepting the moment as it is becomes an act of strength. Acceptance doesn't mean agreeing with everything, but rather stopping fighting against what you can't change. Life flows, and when we flow with it, we find peace. If things aren't going as you expected, ask yourself, what can I do with what I have now? That question opens doors where before we only saw obstacles. Living in the present also means living with intention, not acting out of inertia, but with purpose. Whether you work, converse, or rest, do so with awareness. By setting clear intentions, even for the most mundane tasks, you focus your energy and make every moment meaningful. To begin living more intentionally, you can set a purpose for your day. If you're going to work, aim to be present without distractions. If you're going to share with someone, choose to listen with genuine attention. These are small decisions that change the quality of your experience. In short, to embrace the present effectively, be aware when your mind wanders and gently bring it back. Accept life as it is, without fighting what you cannot change. Practice gratitude every day. Take breaks to reconnect with yourself and your surroundings. Live with intention, doing everything with purpose and attention. All of this invites us to reflect on what we can do today to live a more fulfilling life. Remember, embracing the present is a constant journey. Continued practice is what will allow you to live with greater peace and fulfillment. So far, we've learned how to manage our thoughts, manage our emotions, and live in the present. Now it's time to explore another profound aspect: trusting the process of life. Trusting the process? Does that mean giving up and letting things happen without intervening? Absolutely not. Trusting the process of life isn't passivity, but faith. It's trusting that, despite uncertainty and challenges, everything unfolds as it should. It doesn't mean you should stop acting or making decisions. On the contrary, it means acting from a place of trust and serenity, knowing that the path, although uncertain, makes sense. But how can I trust something I can't control? Sometimes it seems like nothing goes as expected. That's a common difficulty. From a young age, we're taught that we should be in control of everything. But life has its own rhythm, and not everything depends on us. What we can control is our attitude and the way we face challenges. This is where the concept of the illusion of control comes in. We think that if we plan every step and follow a rigid path, everything will turn out the way we want it to. But life is unpredictable. Clinging to control only creates more anxiety and frustration. Freeing ourselves from this illusion allows us to live more calmly, trusting that every experience, even the unexpected, is part of our growth. To begin, I must stop trying to control everything precisely. The first step is to accept that there are aspects beyond my control, such as the uncertainty of the future, the decisions of others, and even the outcome of my own efforts, which don't always depend on me. Trusting the process means embracing that uncertainty. Although this concept sounds terrifying, the question is, if I don't try to control everything, how can I be sure things will turn out well? It's natural to feel fear, but the fear of uncertainty is often more overwhelming than reality itself. Trusting the process means believing that, no matter what happens, you have the skills and resources necessary to handle any situation. Life doesn't always go the way we imagine, but that doesn't mean we can't adapt. The fear of failure is another of the great barriers to trusting the process of life. I often worry that if I don't do things right, everything will fall apart. But failure isn't the end. In fact, it's often the first step toward success. We learn important lessons from failure that we couldn't otherwise. Failing doesn't mean losing. In reality, failure is an opportunity to learn, take risks, and face the unknown. If you never fail, you'll never know what you need to learn to advance to the next level. Changing my perspective on failure makes it easier to trust the process. Viewing failure as a learning opportunity, rather than a reflection of my worth, opens my mind to new possibilities, making me more flexible and resilient. Patience and acceptance are key virtues for trusting the process. We live in an age of immediacy, where everything seems to happen instantly, from information to answers. However, real life takes time, and not everything happens when we want it to, and that's okay. The key is to accept the natural rhythm of things. Some situations take time, and being patient gives me the space to learn and grow without the pressure of figuring everything out right away. Patience also involves understanding that everything has its own time. If things don't go as I expect, how can I accept that reality? Accepting uncertainty and imperfection is crucial. Accepting what is, rather than clinging to what should be, frees me from frustration. Acceptance is not resignation, but the recognition that there are things beyond my control. By practicing acceptance, I free up space for peace of mind, even when circumstances are less than ideal. A fundamental aspect is self-confidence. How can I trust the process if I don't trust myself? Trust in the process begins with trust in my own abilities. If I don't trust my ability to adapt and learn, it will be difficult for me to trust the process of life. One way to strengthen this trust is to remember my past achievements, times when I overcame difficulties or achieved goals, even if they didn't follow the path I had planned. These memories show me that I have the capacity to face challenges. It's also important to be kind to myself, especially when things don't go as expected. If I trust myself more, it will be easier for me to have faith in life's process. Self-confidence strengthens confidence in life. Knowing that, no matter what happens, I will be able to handle it and learn from it allows me to let go of control and move forward with a positive attitude. Trusting the process is ultimately an act of faith. It involves believing that life has a purpose, even if I can't always grasp it at the moment. Sometimes things don't make sense in the moment, but over time, things move toward a better place. To cultivate that faith, it's helpful to remember that change is inevitable and that there will always be something new to come. Staying open to new possibilities, even in the midst of uncertainty, strengthens my faith in the process. It's also valuable to reflect on past experiences, where, although I didn't understand why certain things happened, I can now see how everything aligned for my well-being. If I ever feel lost, I must remember that the path to well-being isn't linear. Difficulties are part of the process, and having faith in it doesn't mean understanding everything, but rather moving forward with confidence, even when things aren't clear. Faith grows stronger with practice and time. Flexibility in the face of change is also essential. Accepting life's changes, especially when they don't fit with what I had planned, is a key skill for trusting the process. Life is constantly changing, and what initially seems like a distraction or defeat may actually be a new opportunity or a valuable lesson. Flexibility allows me to adapt without getting stuck in what I expected. The first step to becoming more flexible is to stop clinging to a single outcome. When I plan everything too rigidly, any change seems threatening. If I adopt a more open mindset, I'll discover that changes can open new doors. Practicing accepting the unexpected will allow me to adapt without getting frustrated. In short, to begin to trust the process of life, it is essential to let go of the illusion of control and accept uncertainty. I must trust in my ability to adapt to changes and handle whatever comes, cultivate patience, and recognize that everything has its own timing. Accepting imperfection and failure as part of the process, as well as developing the faith that everything aligns for my good, even when I don't understand it at the moment, are key steps to moving forward. I'm ready to start trusting life more, knowing that trusting the process is a practice that, over time, will allow me to let go of control and live with more peace.